Hi developers, welcome to another exciting tutorial. In this video, you would learn to build a simple functional e-commerce website using React and Tailwind CSS. You learn to build navigation bar, hero section, you would learn to build product list, product card, we're going to learn to add to carts, we're going to learn to build cart page, we're going to learn to increase and decrease the quantity of items that we have in the cart, we're going to learn to add more items to the cart, you're going to see all of the items in the cart page. Also, we're going to learn to build product details page. So when the user clicks on the image, it takes them to the product details page. We're going to learn to build all of this in this tutorial. So let's get to it. First, we'll start by building the navigation bar, which is going to be fixed by the way. So irrespective of where the user scrolls to, the navigation bar will remain fixed. On the navigation bar, we have the title, we have links here, we have two icons for cards and then for the user's page. Then we'll build this hero section right here. For the hero section, at the top, we have a text on the left and then an image showing that this is a food website on the right. And also, we have this section here 15 years experience, 5 master chef, 200 plus daily visitors, and 35 plus achievements. We have that here. Then we'll build the food display. So for the food display, we're going to have a food card. In each food card, we're going to have an image of the food, the name of the food, the price, and a call to action button here asking the user to add it to carts if they like what they see. Then we're going to build the footer section. Now, for the functionality, you will learn to build a cart system in the sense that when the user adds an item, it's going to show in the cart icon that we have in the navigation bar. So I'm going to add as many items as possible. If I reload now, you can see that we have nothing in the cart, right? If I add this item, we have one item in the cart. Add this item, we have two items in the cart. Add this item, we have three, four, five, six items in the cart. Now, if we click on this cart icon, it's going to lead us to the cart page as we have it here. And on the cart page, you're going to see the title, shopping cart. You're going to see the number of items that we have in the cart. And you're going to see this icon to delete the entire cart. Also, we have the subtitle for product, quantity, price, and the total. Right now, the first item here, we have the image, then we have the title, special fried rice with chicken. We have the icon to remove this specific item from the cart. Then we have this quantity control. So I can increase the quantity of this item, and you would see that the total is going to change. Okay, we have the price to be $100, and the total is 300 because the quantity is 3. So if I multiply the quantity by the price, it's going to give us the total. If I increase this as well, the quantity to 2, the price is $200 and the total will be 400. Okay, so we can increase and decrease the quantity of item that we have in our cart. Also, we have the cart summary, where the user is going to see the summary of everything that they've added in the cart. We have the number of items that we have in the cart. We have the subtotal. We have shipping fee. In this case, it's free. And we have the promo code section here. And also, we have the total cost showing 1060. Okay, so this is the cards page. And also, we're going to learn to build the product details page. So when the user clicks on any image of the product, it's going to lead them to the page. Okay, you can see this right there. You can see a bigger picture of this food item and also the title, the price, description, and also a button to add to cart. If I click on this now, this has been added to cart. So this is the last thing that we added to cart, rich tier native fried rice. Okay, on the carts as well, I said that we can delete the entire cart when we click on this icon. So I'm going to click on this now, and you can see that the entire cart is wiped off, and we're getting this message: your cart is empty. Now I'm going to add this again to the cart. Go to the home page. I'm going to add this mojito cocktail with lemon ice cube. I'll add this, and if we check the cart now, it's been added to the cart. We can remove a specific item from cart when we click on this. You can see now that the item has been removed from cart, and it's showing right here that we have just 2 items in the cart. If I increase the quantity of this to 2, it's showing that we have 3 items in the cart. So this is what you're going to learn to build in this tutorial. So let's get started. So first, you're going to open your code editor, and then you're going to click on terminal, click on new terminal. I'll be using Git bash for my terminal. So first, you're going to change directory to your desktop, and then you're going to run this command: npm create vit at latest, then the title for the folder that you want to create. So this is a food website, React, Tailwind, hyphen, hyphen, templates, React. Then you press enter. Ensure you're connected to the internet when you do this. So now it's asking use roll down Vite experimental. Yes. Install npm and start now. No. Okay, so we're going to change directory to food website React Tailwind. Then we're going to type in npm install, which is still going to do the same thing that it was asking us to do. Okay. So once we're done with this installation, just type in code space, then press enter full stop, then press enter. This is going to open the project folder that you just created in a new window in VS Code. Okay, you can see now it is starting right now. And then this is what we have. Okay, so now we have our source folder, node modules, we have everything right here complete. So you navigate to terminal. Let us start the server. I'm going to be using git bash, like I said. And then you're going to type in npm run dev. And you press enter. This is going to start your server. So now you're going to follow this link and it's going to lead you to this page where you're going to see the default React app. So the counter is working, everything is working. So we need to do some cleanups before we start installing dependencies that we need. So first I'm going to delete app.css because I'm not going to use it for this project. Then everything in app.jsx, I'm going to delete it. So Control A, then backspace. Then I'm going to type in this keyword RAFCE. Before you type in yours, ensure that you have this extension. EX7 plus React slash Redux slash React native snippets. If you do not have it, just come over to the search bar here, search for ES7 plus React Redux React native snippets and install it. Once that is installed, then you can type in this keyword. So once you type in RAFC, you're just going to see this and press enter. So it's going to create React snippet for you, and that makes your work faster. Then everything that we have in index.css, we're going to delete it all. So we're done with that. And now, next thing is to install some dependencies. So I'm going to open another terminal because our server is currently running. So let's use another terminal. So we're styling with Tailwind CSS. So we need to visit the official website, tailwindcss.com. Once you're on the official website, click on Docs, Documentation. You want to install Tailwind for Vite. So you're going to see the installation. So Vite has its own tab right here. So you're going to follow this 6 process to install Tailwind. So the first one is to create our project. We've done that already. We've changed directory to the project. Next is to install Tailwind CSS. So we're going to copy this code here and then paste it in our terminal. Ensure that you have internet connection. Then we'll configure the Vite plugin. That's the third step. So in this case, we have vite.config.cs. In our own case, we have vite.config.js because we're using JavaScript, right? So you're going to copy this line of code and then you come over to vite.config.js and then paste it under this import React from Vite plugin. Then you copy this as well. You paste it. After React, you add a comma, then you paste it. Okay, so once you're done with this, close it. Next is to import the Tailwind CSS. So in our global CSS, we're going to copy this code and paste it there. Now global CSS is our index.css, so I'm just going to paste this right here. Next is to start our build process. So on our terminal, we need to run npm run dev once more. So we're going to do that now. Tailwind has been installed. If we check package log.json, you can see in our packages we have Tailwind CSS, Tailwind for Vite. Okay. Then next is to run the build process, right? So we're going to do Control C, which is to stop our server, and then do npm run dev. But before that, let's style. So right here, I'm going to have an H1 tag that's going to say subscribe to my channel. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do well to subscribe to my channel. And I'm going to style. So text, let's say 3XL, and then the text color, purple, which happens to be my best color, 700. Okay, so you can see now that we're able to start with Tailwind CSS, right? So Let us do npm run dev once more to start our server. We press enter, and then we'll follow the link. We'll close the previous one, and you can see that this has the color and also the size of the text. Now that we're able to start, we'll close this now. Okay, now we have icons right here. That means we need to install React icons. Okay, we have cart page. That means we need to install React Router DOM so that we'll be able to navigate between pages. So those are the two dependencies that we need to install. So you type in React icons hyphen npm. So if you're on this website, npmjs.com/package/react hyphen icons, you come right here and copy the installation code, and then you paste it on the terminal. So we'll paste it right here. Then for React Router DOM as well, React Router DOM. Once you're on npmjs.com/package/react-router-dom, you're on the right page. So just copy the installation code and then you paste it on the terminal. So while React Router DOM is installing, let's check. You can see right here that React icon has been installed. Okay. So while this is installing, we need to create our component folder. We need to create pages folder. So our React Router DOM has been installed. Now we need to get the images that we want to use. So I'm going to copy all of the images that we have right here, and then I'm going to paste it in the asset folder. The link to the description, the link will be in the description to get all the images and also the data file. So I'm going to create a data file right here, data.tsx, and I'm going to paste this. Okay, so I already prepared the data file that we're going to use for this project. I've imported all the food images, and then we have our array of objects. Okay, representing each object represents a food card. Okay, so we have the first object here. We have an ID, we have the name, we have description, price, image, category, and then date. This is the second one right here. The ID, the name, the description, price, image, category, and date. So we have all of this. The link as well will be in the description to get this. So next thing now is to start building. So now we need to create our components. So we'll have our napa.gsx refc to create React snippets. So once you see this, just press enter. Then we'll have our hero section in the components. So hero.gsx refc as well. Press enter. Then we're going to have product lists .gsx refc as well to create React snippets. Press enter. Then we have the statistics hero stats.gsx refc. Press enter. We're going to have the footer components refc. Press enter as well. And we're going to have our carts.jsx refc as well. Press enter. Okay, so now we're going to close all this now. And lastly, I'm going to create our shop context.gsx. We're going to come back to this later. Now we'll close components. Next is the pages. So in the pages, we're going to have our own page.gsx refc. Press enter. And also we're going to have product details page. So product details.gsx refc as well. Press enter. So we're done with this. Okay. So next thing we need to do now is to set up our routes, set up the way we want our website to look like. Let me close this and close this as well. So let's go back right here. Okay, so for this website, we have navigation at the top of the page and we have footer at the bottom of the page, right? If we're on the carts page, we're still going to see our navigation bar and the footer. If we're on a product details page, we're going to see our navigation and the footer as well. So that means that if we're going to create this website, the navigation will be at the top of all pages and the footer will be at the bottom of all pages. Every other thing will come in between the navigation bar and the footer. So this is our home page where we have the hero section, hero statistics, products list, and every other thing. Okay. So now, if we want to set up this website, that is going to be the first thing. We're going to render our navbar at the top of the page, and also we're going to have the footer at the bottom of the page. Every other thing will be in between. Remember to always import. So import navbar from dot forward slash component slash navbar, then footer as well. Import footer from dot component slash footer. Okay, so we have our navbar at the top of the page and the footer at the bottom of the page. Then we can now set up our routes in between this. Okay, so we're going to have routes from React Router DOM. You press tab once you see this, and then in between we're going to have each route. So the first route, the part will be for the home page. So forward slash for our home page. Then we'll have an element where we're going to render the home page. Okay, then we'll add route here. So we've set up the route for our home page. Next thing is for the cart page. So we're going to set the route. The path to the cart page would be forward slash cart. Then element, we're going to render our cart components. Then we'll close this. So the path to the cart is this. Next is the product details page. So the product details page, the path is going to take a dynamic route because we want to see each product details by their ID. We want to be able to view the detail of a product by its ID. So we're going to do slash product slash colon ID. The colon is what makes it dynamic. And here we're going to render product details. Product details. Then we'll close this. Okay, so let me explain this once more. We have slash product slash colon ID for this website that we're trying to build, right? Each of these products are uniquely identified by their ID. Each of the objects that we have here, they are uniquely identified by their ID. So if I click on this now, on this product details page, you can see this right here in the URL slash product slash one. The one is the ID that we have here to uniquely identify the product objects. This food here, the details here, the entire thing that we have here is an object, and that is what we have in our data.jsx file. Each of this food card is an object, and we're uniquely identifying each of them by ID. If I click on this now, you can see slash product slash two. Two is the ID for this product. Okay, so we want to view each product that we have here, each food by its ID. If I click on this here, this is the 8 products that we have in our list. And that list is our data.gsx file that we already have here. Okay, you're going to be getting this in the products in the description. So you can see right here in our array of objects for our product data, we have an object. So the first object here, the ID is 1. The name of the item is special fried rice with chicken. We have description, we have price, we have image, category, and then date. Remember, ID is 1. The name is what? Special fried rice with chicken. Let's go back to this website and then see. You can see that for the first product, the name, special fried rice chicken, price 500, and the ID is what? 1. So this is how you uniquely identify each of the products. We are uniquely identifying each of them by their ID. You can decide to identify each by their name, by their price, but in this case, for this project, we're identifying each by their ID. So that is why we have colon ID. Okay, I hope that is understood. Now that we have this now, there's another thing that we need to do. In our main.jsx, we need to wrap our entire application with browser router so that we can navigate between pages. So we're going to have browser router from React Router done. And then we're going to cut this, Control X, and then paste what we have here. Okay, so we've wrapped our entire application with browser router so that we can navigate between pages. So now, if we head back here, okay, we're encountering an error. Let us see. Okay, so the error is home page is not defined. Okay. So right here, the home page, the cards page, and the product details page, we're here to import it. So let's do that. Import home page from the / pages / home page. Import cards from dot / component / cards. Import product details. Oh, Control Z, product details from dot / pages / product details. Okay, so now we should not have any error. Okay, you can see navbar at the top of the page, footer at the bottom of the page. Okay, now this is the home page right here. If I do /carts, you're going to see the carts. So right now we're on the carts page. Okay, so if I go back now, we're on the home page. All right, let's continue building. So we need to start with navigation bar. So we need to build this lovely navigation bar that we have right here. So I'm going to close app.gsx, main.gsx, close the pages, open my components, and then open my navigation bar. So now for our navigation bar, we'll start with the nav tag. Inside our navigation tag, we're going to have the brand logo. Then we're going to have the navigation menu. So nav menu. After nav menu, we're going to have the icons. Okay, so let's start with brand logo. So for the brand logo, we're going to have a div tag, and it's going to take, we're using this text as the logo. Then we have the navigation menu. So we're going to use a UL tag. Inside this UL tag, we're going to have 4 list items. The first one will be home. Second will be dishes. Third will be contact. And lastly, we're going to have use app. Now for the icons, we're going to have the cat icon and the user icon. Because we've installed React Router DOM, so let me have div tag first. Because we've installed React Router DOM, if you type in cart, it's going to display a list of items that's going to match the keyword cart that you can select from. So I'm going to be selecting this cart here, and you can see that it has been imported. Then we can close this. Okay. And also after the cart, we're going to have the user icon. So I'm going to type in user, and React is going to display list of icons that match this keyword user. I'm going to be using this icon here, and I'll close this. Okay. If we check now, this is what we have. We have the title, the menu, and then the icons. Okay, so let us style this now. So before styling, we need to do few things. So we need to ensure that our navigation bar is fixed once the user is scrolling. First, we need to create a state variable that is going to track if the user has scrolled down the page, and a setter function that is going to update the states. So I'm going to create a state variable. I'll give it a name is scrolled, and the setter function sets is scrolled. And by default, we're going to set this to false, showing that the user has not scrolled, right? Then we're going to use effects. In the use effects, we need to first create a function to undo the scroll event. I'm going to name that function undo scroll. And also, we're going to check if the user scrolls more than 100%, 100 pixel, we want to set is scrolled to true before we now add a scroll listener that would mount when our component mounts. So let's do that now. I'll give the function undo scroll, undo scroll. Inside this function, we're going to check if scroll is more than 100 pixel. Then we're going to set the scroll to true. So we're going to set is scrolled to check if the user has scrolled more than 100 pixel. We need to check our window. We need to use our window to detect it. So we're going to do window dot. If the user scrolls on y-axis and is more than 100, let's add space. Then we'll set it to true. Okay. Then this is scroll, not scrolling. Okay, so that's a typo error. Now we need to add a scroll event listener when the component mounts. So we're going to have window dot add event listener. If the scroll, comma, we'll call the undo scroll. And next thing after this is a cleaner function to remove scroll listener when the compounds unmount. So we're going to return window dot remove event listener scroll then undo scroll. And in here we're going to add an empty dependency array. So what we did here is actually very simple. First, we declare the state variable to undo to track if the user has scrolled down the page. So the name of that state variable is scrolled, and then we have a data function to update it when the user has scrolled. By default, we set this is scrolled to false. Okay. Then we have this use effect right here. So inside the use effect, we created a function that is going to undo the scroll event. And then if the user scrolls down, that is on y-axis, and the user scrolls past 100 pixel, we want to detect it. I want to set it to true. So that means we're using set is scrolled when the user scrolls down on y-axis to 100 pixels. Then right here, we added a scroll event listener when the component mounts. And next is a cleanup function that will remove the scroll listener when the components unmount. That means when the user scrolls down to 100 pixels. If they scroll down more than 100 pixels, this is going to work. This is going to tell us that the user has scrolled down more than 100 pixels. And if the user does not scroll more than 100 pixels, this is where this cleanup function is going to work. Okay, so when the component on mount, we're going to remove the scroll event listener. So now that we have that now, we can now continue. So let's style. In this case, we're going to be using curly braces to style because we're going to have some conditions while styling because of the fixed navigation bar. Okay, so we use a backtick. So nav bar, we'll set it to fixed. We'll set the top to 0, left 0. The width will be full. Z index will be 50. And then we'll add transition. Or we'll add duration of 500. Let me close this so that we can have a larger screen. Duration of 500. And now this is where we're going to have our condition. We'll have a $sign, then a curly braces. So first off, we need to check if the user scrolls down. If our scroll event detects scrolling, if the user scrolls down, the navigation background turns white with shadow. Otherwise, it's going to be transparent background. So we're going to do is scrolled. We're using a ternary operator for this. Then it should do this. If not, it should do this. Okay. So if it's scrolled, that means if this state variable is set to true, right now it's set to false, right? So if the user scrolls, that means it's going to be set to true. Then we want to have a styling for it. So the background color will be white. We'll have a shadow, which is going to be medium, and then we'll have a padding on y-axis to be 4. If not, which is this other one, we want the background to be transparent. So background transparent, and then padding should be 6. Then let us continue styling. We'll have padding. This is for the normal style, whether the user scrolls or not. Display will be flex, justify content, space between items at the center. Okay, so this is for the entire navigation bar. Now for the brand logo, the text size to Excel. We'll set the font to bold. Then in the UL tag, we're going to set display to flex. We'll add space to be 6. All the text to be set to large. The font to be semi-bold. Then all the text should be uppercase. Now for each of this list item, I'm going to style everything at once. We're going to set cursor to pointer. Then when you hover on it, the text color should be gray. And also we'll add a transition. Okay. So we have the icon container. We're going to style this. Display will be flex, items at the center. We'll add space as well. And for each icon, for the first icon and the second icon, we're going to use the same styling. So the size will be 3XL. And we'll set the cursor to pointer. So this is what our navigation bar looks like now. We're not going to see the scroll event because we're yet to add more to the page for us to see what the scroll looks like. But as soon as we add more, we're going to see. But this is what the navigation bar is looking like now. So we're done with navigation bar. Next is the hero section. Our hero section is going to be in our home page. As it is here, the hero section is inside the home page. Navigation bar is on its own, the footer is on its own. So we're going to mount hero here. And now we're going to import it. Okay, so we've imported the hero section. Then we can now start working on the hero. So I'm going to close this. Okay, I didn't do this correctly. It's supposed to be hero. Supposed to mount hero section. Then I'll close this. Okay, so right now we can now have our hero content. So let's do that now. So for our hero section, we're going to have a div tag here. Inside this div tag, we're going to have 2 more div tags for the left and right section. Oh, 2. So the first one is going to be the left content. And the second div tag would be for the right content. Okay, so in the left content, we're going to have an H2 tag that will take a text. We're going to have an H1 tag, and also we're going to have a paragraph tag. So in the H2 tag, it will take this text. Then for the H1 tag, we'll have this text, and then for the P tag, we'll have this text. Okay, now for the right content, we're going to have an image, and the image would be from our assets. So we're going to be using this image, the second image that we have here, this image here. So I need to import the image. So import, I'm going to give the image, hero image in this component. That will be the name of the image from dot forward slash asset folder slash, the name of the image is chicken 2 dot png. So we'll use this name here as the source. We'll have a curly braces and then I'm going to paste it right here. So this is what we should have in the hero section, and that is the same thing that we have here. So now let's style. So it's going to look like this. So we'll start with this div tag, class name, height will be screen size, display would be flex direction will be colon, then all items will be at the center. So items center. Then this other div tag, display will be flex as well. Justify content space between items center, and then we'll have a padding on x-axis to be 24 pixels. We'll add a gap of 4. The width will be full, and then the max width will be screen size XL. Then we'll have a margin top of 16. So I'm going to close this now so we can have a larger screen. Now for the left content class width, we'll have a max width of half. That's more like 50% of the entire screen. So we'll have margin top of 12. For the H2 tag, we'll have text size to be 3XL. The font should be semi-bold. Then we have an H1 tag. The text size will be 6. The font will be bold. Then we'll have a margin top of 3. Then we'll have leading tights. Then for the P tag, the text size will be large. Text color will be gray 600. And then we'll have margin top of 4. Next is the right. We'll set the max width of this to half as well. Then the image, we'll set the width to 1040 pixels. The height to 500 pixels. Objects contain with a margin top of 3. So this is what the hero section looks like now. Next is the statistics section that we need to work on. So right here for hero statistics, we have it here, hero stats.gsx. So for this hero statistics, we're going to create an array of objects for the stats. Then in the object, we have the number, the label. So let's have this cons stats will be equal to an array of objects. So the first one will be number. So the first one will take 15 plus. Then we'll have a label with years experience. Okay, and the other ones would be the second number, label, number, label, number, label. So we're going to map over this to display it. Okay, so we'll start with a div tag. Inside that div tag, we're going to map over the start array to display each of them. So start, then we'll pass the index to uniquely identify each. Open our brackets. So inside this, we'll have a div tag. And then we'll pass the key to uniquely identify. We'll use the index number. So the index number of this is an array of objects, right? The index number of this is 0. Index number of this is 1. Index number of this is 2. Index number of this object is 3. So that is how it's going to identify each of them, because this is an array, and in array we count from zero. Count starts from zero. So index number of this is 0, 1, 2, 3. That's how we're identifying each of these objects. So the key here is objects. Okay, since we have that now, then inside this we're now going to display an h2 tag, and the h2 tag is going to display the number first. So we have start dot number. After the h2 tag, we're going to have a p tag that is going to display the label, start dot label. Okay, so what we did here was to create an array of objects to store this data. So for each object we have two different properties, the number and then the label, and they have their contents, right? So right here we're mapping over, let me reduce this, we're mapping over this array of objects. This starts to display the contents that we have. These are the contents. This are the contents. So we're mapping over the start array to display each of the contents. Then we pass the start and the index to uniquely identify each of them. And like I said, we're identifying by the index number, and the index for array count starts from 0. So this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2, this is index 3. That is how we want to display each of them. We're going to display the first one, which is 0, second one, which is 1, third, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so then we created this div tag to work on the UI, and we pass the key as index. Then we have an h2 tag to display the number. We have a p tag to display the label. So the hero stats will also be in our home page. So I'm just going to mount it here. Hero stats. Then I'm going to import it. Import hero stats from components. Okay, so now we can now style this directly. We'll have our class name. Before styling, let us see. This is what this should look like. Okay, and now you can see what I was talking about earlier about the navigation bar. As soon as we scroll above 100 pixels, you can see that there's a shadow here. Okay, so let us style the hero stats. We'll set the background color to black. The text would be white. Padding. Then we'll have a negative margin top of 14. Then for the second div tag, the max width will be 6 XL. Margin auto. Display would be grid. Then grid equals 2, so 2 per colon. And then we'll have a gap of 4. All text should be at the center. Then for this div tag that we have here, display will be flex direction, colon, items, center. Then we have an h2 tag here. Text would be 4 XL. The fonts, we'll set it to bold, and the text color is going to be red. Then we have this p tag. So for this p tag, we'll set the margin top to 2, and the text size will be large. So this is what we should have at the end of the day. Okay, so the grid system. Okay, grid should be equals to, okay, medium screen, grid equals 4. Okay, so you can see. So this is exactly as we have it here as well. So now we need to do this, our product display, which is the dishes display. We need to work on this now. So before actually doing that, we need to work on the shop context first. So shop context basically is the next thing that we need to work on. So I want you to think of shop context as your app global store that keeps your app organized and centralized. So in this kind of project where we have product list, product deals page, cards page, product card, and each of these need access to the same data, which is this data right here. Each of these need access to this data, keeping all the data, the cart data and the product data, in a centralized place will make it easy for all the components to have access to it and update easily without having to pass the data down as prop each time. So we're going to have all of our product data, cart functionality, functions, state variable, everything relating to products and carts that we're going to need in other parts of this application would be in shop context. So that's basically why we need the context API. So let's start with that. So first, in our shop context, we're going to start by creating a context for sharing products and cart data across components. So because we want to share product and cart data, we'll start with exports, then consts. We'll create our shop context, and it's going to be equals to the shop. The S would be capital letter, would be equals to create context. Then we're going to import the product data from this external file, this data.tsx. We want to import this product data. So we're going to import products data from our data file. Next step is to define the context provider component. So we're going to have const shop context provider, and we'll pass children. Okay, so once this is done, we now need to export the provider component. So we're going to export default shop context provider. Once we have that, next is to provide the state and function as a context value. So this is where we're going to return shop context dot provider, and we're going to pass children. We'll render any child component inside the provider. So we're just going to have children right here. Inside this shop context dot provider, we're going to be providing the states and functions as context value. So we're going to pass value. So whatever state variable we have, whatever functions we have, this is where we're going to pass it so that we can have access to it in other parts of our application. You're going to see that in action soon enough. So let us start with our data. So first we need to store all the available products, initialize it with the imported data. So we'll create our product state and then set products. That is our setup function. Be equals to, we initialize it with product data. Okay, so we've created our product state and we're initializing it to what we have here, product data. You can see that as soon as we hover on this now, everything that we have in the product data is already showing here. The ID, the name, description, price, image, category, date, everything is showing right here. So now that we've done this, we're going to add this product value to the as a context value. We're adding it as context value. Okay, so this is done now. So let's go through this once more so that we can understand fully. So first off, we started by creating our context, the context for sharing product and cart data across components. Next, we imported the product data from our external file, which is data.gsx that we saved in our source folder. Next step was to define our context provider component, and then we pass children in it. Next, right here, is to return values as context value, the states, the functions. So we did return shop context of provider, and then we have this value right here. Right here, we exported the shop context provider, And inside this here, we declare the state variable for product that is going to store all the products that we have, and a setup function to update if there's any updates. And by default, we initialize it with our products data, which is what we imported from our external file. Okay, so now that that is done, the next thing we need to do is in the main.gsx, which is to wrap our entire application with shop context provider so that the entire application, components and pages can have access to the shop context provider value. So right here, we're going to have shop context provider. We'll cut this, Ctrl X, and then we'll paste it in between. Okay, so we're just going to format the document so that it's going to look okay. Okay, so now that we've done this, the entire application can have access to shop context provider. So I'll close this now. Then we can now create our product list since we already have our product data in shop context. So in the product list, the first thing we need to do is to extract our product data from shop context. So we're going to have const products will be equals to use context shop context. Okay, so once we have that now, we can now display the product list. We'll have an h2 tag first with this text, and then we're going to have a div tag. Inside this div tag, we're going to map over these products to display each of the products. So we're going to have products dot map open our brackets. We'll pass products. Curly braces. Then we're going to destructure products. We're destructuring products because it makes our code looks more readable and easier to read. So let's just destructure ID, image, name, and price. You're going to see the reason for this later on. After this, we can now return and display what we want to show exactly. So we'll have a div tag, and in this div tag, we're going to have this div tag is our product container. Okay, so we'll pass a key, and it's going to be ID. We want to uniquely identify each of the products by their ID, right? So inside this div tag, we're going to have an image. For the image, it's going to take image. The structuring, like I said, is to make our code more readable. If I had not destructured this, let's say this was a comment, we would not have image or ID. It's going to be product.image, product.id. So with the structuring, you will be able to write a more easier and your code will be more readable. So instead of repetition, product.image, product.id, product.name, product.price, you're just going to have ID, image, price, that's how it's going to be when you destructure. Okay, so back to what we're doing. So after the image inside the products card, we're now going to have a div tag. Inside this div tag, we'll have an h4 tag, which is going to be for the name of the product. After the h4 tag, we'll have a p tag, which is going to be for the price. After this, we're now going to have the button, the add to cart button. Okay, so this is what we have now in product list. Now I'm going to mount it right here. If we check here now, you can see each of these products have been displayed. We have the image, the name, the price, and then the button. So let's go over the code once more to understand what we just did here. So this is the code, right? The first thing we need was to extract the product state from our shop context, the value from this context value that we have here. We extracted this product, right? And this product, we already declared the value here as a state variable, and then we initialize it with product data. That means every single thing that we have in product data is already stored in products. Then we're now doing this return statement. This is the container right here for our product list. We have an H2 tag. This is the header. Then we have this product list container, like the grid container. This is it right here. This is where we're displaying each of the products card. This is the container for this. This is more like a wrapper for this products list. Inside this div tag, we're mapping over the products that were extracted from shop context to display each of them as a card, and that is a card right here. Before the card, with the structured product so that our code will be more readable and to avoid repetition. Then inside this card, we have an image to uniquely identify the objects in our product, which is the same thing that we have in data.jsx. Each of these products right here, to uniquely identify them, we pass ID as the key so that we can uniquely identify each of these, right? This product data is an array of objects. These are objects. To uniquely identify each object that we've already saved in shop contexts, right? We're using ID. And inside the products card, we have an image, then we have a div tag here, we have the name, the price, and the button as well. Okay, so that's just what we did. Now let's style. So we'll start by styling this. Max width will be 7XL. We'll set the margin. We'll set padding on x-axis to 6. All text should be at the center. Then we'll set margin top to 20. Then for the H2 tag, we'll set the text size to 3XL. The font will be semi-bold. Margin bottom will be 8. And the text color would be set to gray. Then for this display container, this grid container, we'll set the display to grid. Grid code 1 and small screen. Grid code 2. I'm there. Grid code 3. Then we'll add a gap of 6. Then for the card, we'll set the background color to white. We'll add a border. Border color would be gray, 200. Border radius would be large on all sizes. We'll add a padding of 4. Shadow, just a small shadow. And then we'll add transition, transform. And then we'll add a duration of 200. Next is the image that will be inside the card. So for the image, I'm going to set the width to full. Height would be 64. Object cover. Border radius large. Then transform. Scale of 90. When the user hover on it, scale should be 100. Okay, so that's for the image. Then this div tag that we have here, we'll set the margin top to 4. The H4 tag that we have right here, the text size should be large. Font size should be semi-bold. And then text color should be gray, 900. Then we have the price. For the price, the text should be gray, 600. Then we have the button. The width will be full. We'll set the padding on y-axis. Margin top, the text size, and then the font should be medium. text color should be white. We'll set the background color to red, and then border radius on the, and when the user hover on the button, the background color should be red as well, but it should be 600. We'll add transition so that it will be smooth. Then we'll add duration 300. So this is what this should look like now. Okay, so the image is not, so let's see. Okay, so we have just 3 items being displayed here. While here we have 4 items. So right here, we're going to add on large screen grid cos 4, and you can see that this is looking okay now. It looks exactly like what we have here. Okay, so this is for the product display. And the next thing we need to work on now is to ensure that once the user clicks on this button right here, we're able to add to cart. Okay, so we need to work on the cart functionality, and we're going to be doing that in our shop context. Okay, the add, we're going to have our cart state here, the add to cart function, remove from cart, every other thing is going to be right here. So let's do that now. Context, so that other components can have access to the cart state and update the cart state without having to pass it down as props. So we're going to have our cart right here in shop context. So first off, we need to create the state variable that is going to hold the cart data, and then the setter function to update the cart when there is a change. And by default, we're going to initialize the cart data with an empty array. So we're going to have const cart setter function set cart be equals to use state. We're going to initialize it with an empty array. So now after this, we're now going to create another state variable and a setter function for quantity. So the state variable is going to store the quantity of items that we have in our cart, and a setter function that is going to update the quantity if there is a change. And by default, we're going to initialize the quantity with 0. So I'm going to have const quantity setter function. Oh no, quantity. Yeah, comma setter function set quantity. Use state would be 0. Also, we'll create a state variable for the total price and the setter function to update the total price, and we're going to initialize that to 0 as well. So I'm going to have const total setter function, comma, set total, use state. By default, we initialize the total with 0 as well. Then we can now start writing the functions. So the first function that we're going to write is to calculate the total price of items that we have in the cart. So we're going to be using use effect for this, so that it can run an effect whenever the price change. So we're going to have use effect. Then we'll create this function right here. So the first is to use the reduce method to calculate the total price. So I'm going to have const. This variable here is going to store the total price. So total will be equals cut dot reduce, open our bracket. We're going to have our accumulator, comma, current item. Okay, so let me close this so that we can have a larger screen. Now, we are now going to create a variable to convert the price to a number, and then we use an if statement to check for invalid prices. If the price is invalid, if the price is not invalid, then we'll return the accumulator. So let's do that. Let's convert first. And price as a number is going to store the conversion. So price as number will be equal to, we want to convert to a floating point number. we want to convert the current item price. So we're going to have current item dot price. Okay. Then skip invalid prices if the price is not a number. So if price as a number is not a number, we're just going to return accumulator. But if it is, which is going to be after this if statement, we're going to add price times quantity to the accumulator. So we're going to return accumulator plus price as number multiply by current item dot amount, the amount that we have for the current item. And I'm going to initialize the accumulator with 0. Okay. And so we're going to update the total state once we have the total. Set total. We'll call the set total function and then we'll update the state with the new total. Okay, so this is basically the new total. We're using the reduce method and then we're working on all this logic. So first we use the reduce method to calculate the total price. Then we're converting the price to a number. So the current item price, we're converting it to a number. And then we use an if statement to check if the number that we converted is not a number, then it should return accumulator. If it returns a string, if the price as number is not a number, it should return accumulator. If it is a number, then we want to add the accumulator with the price that we've gotten multiplied by the current item times amount. Then we're updating the total state. And then I'm going to add cart here as a dependency array to ensure that the use effect runs when the carts change. Okay, so that is for total price. Next thing we need to work on now is the quantity of items we have in the carts. So we'll use effects for this as well. First off, we need to check if the cart is not empty. So if cart exists, then we'll use the reduce method to sum up the quantity of all the items. So const amount would be equals to cart dot reduce. We're going to have our accumulator and then current item as well. Then we'll return accumulator plus current item dot amount. So basically we're adding the current item amount to the accumulator and then I'm going to initialize the accumulator with 0 as well. Now we can now update the quantity. So we're going to have set quantity amount. And I'm also going to pass cart here as dependency array to ensure that the use effect runs whenever the cart changes. After this, the next function that we need to work on is the function to add a product to carts. Okay, so I'm going to name the function add to cart. So we're going to have const add to cart is the name of the function. We're adding products and ID. So I'm going to have product and ID right here. Okay, so first we need to create a new item with the initial quantity of 1. So I'm going to have const new item will be equal to spread the products, comma, we initialize the quantity with 1. Next step is to find if the product is already in the cart. So we're going to have const and we'll save that in cart item in this variable. So we use find method cart.find item. We'll check if the item ID matches. So we're going to return want to find if the product already exists in the cart just to return it. So this is what we're using to check if the product already exists in the cart. If it does exist in the cart, if the product is already in the cart, we'll map over the cart to update the quantity of the existing item. So we're going to check if cart item, that means if the product exists in the cart, which is this right here. Okay. If the product exists in the cart, let's map over it. So const new cart would be, we'll spread the cart dot map pass item. Then we'll check if the current item ID matches the product ID, then increase the quantity. So if item dot ID equals ID, then you return spread item, comma, amount. We'll update the amount with cat item dot amount. And if the product ID, if the item ID does not match with the product ID, we're just going to return the item. So I'm just going to use an else statement here. Else return item. Okay. Then we're now going to update the cart state with the updated quantity. So we're going to set cart with new carts. Okay, so basically what we did here, or better still, the first line of code here is to create a new item with the initial quantity of 1. Then for these 3 lines of code, we're checking if the product is already in the cart. So once we return the product that is already in the cart, the ID of the product that is already in the cart. Then for this line of code right here, we're using an if statement to check if product already exists in the cart, which is the first 3 line of code before this. If the product already exists in the cart, we're mapping over the cart to update the quantity of the existing item. Then we want to use an if statement to check if the current item ID matches the product that already exists in the cart. Then increase the quantity to 1. That means we have the product in the cart before, but the user still wants to add the same product again to the cart. So we're checking what the user is adding now with what's already exists in the cart. If they match, then increase the quantity by 1 again. Otherwise, return the item as it is. That means add the product newly to the cart because it does not exist in the cart, right? And then if the two conditions are met, if either it exists in the cart, we re-add it to the cart. That means we increase the quantity by 1, or it does not exist in the cart, then we add it newly to the cart. We are updating the cart states with the new cart. Okay, so then we also need to check if the product is not in the cart at all. We want to add it newly to the cart. So we're going to use an else statement where this if ends. Set cart. We want to update our cart states with the new cart, new item, and then we'll display a toast notification. Toast from React Toastify dot success product added to cart. Okay, so let's see. React Toastify has been imported, but in our app.gsx, we're yet to use the toast container. So right here, I'm going to have toast container from React Toastify, and I'm going to close this right here. Okay, so back to our code. I hope this line of code is understood. We're using an if else statement to check if the cart item exists. That means this part, if it exists, if any product is already added to carts. Okay, so if the cart item exists, we'll map over the cart to update the quantity of the existing item. And we're using an if statement to check if the current item ID matches the product ID, the existing product in the cart. If the new item that the user wants to add, if it matches, then we're increasing the quantity. If it doesn't, They want to return the item as it is and update the new cart. And if the cart is not, if the item is not in the cart at all, then we are adding it newly to the cart. So this is our add to cart function. So the next function now, after this add to cart, is going to be the function to clear the entire cart items. So I'm going to name the function clear cart. So I'm going to have const clear cart. Okay, so to delete the entire cart, we just need to set the cart state to an empty array. So I'll use the set cart function. Then I'll set it to an empty array. And also I'll display toast notification, toast the success, cart empty. Okay, then the next function now is to write a function to remove a specific product from the cart. I'm going to name the function remove from cart. So const remove from cart will be equals to, first we need to filter out the products with the specified ID. So we need to get the products. We need to get the ID of the products that we want to remove from our cart. So we're going to have const new cart will be equals to cart dot filter item. Now we'll keep only items whose ID doesn't match, and we'll remove the item that their ID match. So we're going to return item that the ID does not match. So item.id that is not equals to the ID of the one that we want to remove. That's the only product that we're going to be keeping. Then we're going to update the cart state. So set carts with the new carts in this function. Also, we'll display a toast notification. Okay, set carts set. We'll display a toast notification. Toast dot success products removed successfully. Okay, so this is a function to remove products from carts. Then the next function that we need to work on now is to increase the quantity of a specific product in the cart. So I'm going to name the function increase amounts or increase products. So let's just name it increase quantity. And we're increasing specifically by ID. The first step here is to find the product in the cart by its ID. So we're going to have const cart item will be equals to cart dot find method. We want to find the item, so we're going to pass in item. We want to find the item dot ID that matches with the ID of the one that we want to increase. When we find it, we're now going to call the add to cart function and reuse the logic to increase the quantity. So we're just going to have add to cart. We'll call the cart item where we're storing the ID, and then we'll pass the ID as well. Okay, so this is the function to increase the quantity of a specific item in the cart. Now let's write a function to decrease the quantity of a specific item in the cart. I'm going to name the function decrease quantity. And we're decreasing specifically by ID, so I'm going to pass ID right there as well. So first off, we need to find the product in the cart by its ID. So we're going to do the same thing, const cart item is equal to cart dot find item. Then return item dot ID that matches with the ID of the one we want to decrease in the cart. Then next is to check if a product exists in the cart. We'll map over the cart to update the quantity. That is to reduce it. So we're going to check if cart item const new carts will be equals to cart.map item. If the current item ID matches the product ID, then we'll decrease the quantity by one. So we'll do if item dot ID equals ID, then return item, then we'll decrease the amount, cat item dot amount, we'll decrease the amount by one. Okay. And if it doesn't, if it does not match, we'll return the item as it is. So return item. Now we're going to update the cart state. Okay. If the product quantity, so we use an else statement here. Else. If the product quantity is less than two, we're just going to remove the product from the cart. So if cart item dot amount is less than one, then we'll remove it from the cart. We'll just call the remove from cart function and then pass the ID of that product that we're trying to decrease. Okay, if it's less than two here. So we have all the functions right here. So this is basically all the logic that we're going to be using. And now we need to add them to these values here so that other components can have access to it. We need the cart state. We need the add to cart function. We need remove from cart function. We need the clear cart function. We need the increase quantity. We need the decrease quantity. We need quantity itself. And also we need total states. Okay, so we have all the functions right here. Now that we're done with this now, the first thing we're going to do here is to use the quantity states that we have here in the navigation bar, in the sense that once an item is added to the cart, we want it to show on the icon that an item has been added. So right here, after the cart icon, which is this icon, we're going to have, we use a ternary operator. We're going to check. Before checking, we need to extract the quantity state from our shop context, right? So after this nav bar right here, we need to get the quantity of items that will be in the cart to display on the cart icon that we have in our navigation bar. So we're going to have const quantity will be equals to use context shop context. Okay, and then right here inside this curly braces, we are now going to use ternary operator to check. What we want to check exactly is if the quantity of the item is greater than zero, then we want to display the quantity. If not, it should display nothing. Okay, so we're going to do quantity greater than zero, then we'll display this. We're going to display this, which is going to be a span tag. And inside the span tag, we're going to have quantity. Okay, so if quantity is greater than zero, then we'll display this. If quantity is not greater than zero, we'll display nothing. So let us style this span tag. Position will be absolute. I'm going to set negative top to 2. The right as well will be negative right 2 as well. The background color will be red 500. And then the text color, text white. We're going to set the height to be 5, the width to be 5 as well. We'll set the display to flex. Items center. justify center, then border radius around the surrounded form, so that it's going to form a circle. Okay, so this is for the quantity that is going to display on this cart icon once the user has added to cart. So we're going to be adding to cart from product list, right? Because that's what we're displaying our product card on this button right here. Okay, so for this to work, we also need to extract the add to cart function from shop context. Then on the button here, this button to add to cart, we're going to use an onClick method to call our function. So we're going to call the add to cart function, and we're going to pass the product and the ID. So once the user clicks on this button, that's what we're using on click. When they click on the add to cart button, the item, the product will be added to the cart by its ID. So let us test this out and see how it's going to work. So let's add an item. I'm going to click on this now. You can see that we have an item in the cart. Okay, so we still need to work on this CSS so that it can be on it. It can be on the cart actually. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use a div tag so that we can have this cart and the quantity in the same div. So I'll open a div tag and I'm going to cut this, Ctrl X, and paste it in between this. Yes, then I'll add a little styling here. Position will be relative. Okay, so this should work. Now you can see that this has worked perfectly well. So I'll add more item, add. You can see that we're able to add as many items as possible in our cart. Okay, so this logic right here is working perfectly well as well. So the next step now is to work on the cart page itself, in the sense that when the user clicks on this icon, it should lead them to the cart page. So first we need to create a link in the navbar.gsx right here. Okay, so when the user clicks on this cart, it should lead them to the cart page. So I'm going to use a link tag from React Router DOM. Okay, and I'm going to paste this entire div here in between the link. Okay, then we'll set the path for this link. This is going to be 2/carts, as we have it in our app.gsx. Okay, let me open the app.gsx. For the route to, when we're setting up route for carts, we use the path /cart. So wherever we want to use it as well as a link, we're going to do the same thing /cart. Okay, so this entire thing, this entire icon and the quantity is going to lead us to the cart page. So now if I click on this now, it's going to lead me to another page, which is the cart page. Okay, so but now we have nothing in the cart. We are here to write the code that is going to display all the items that we're adding to the cart. So let's work on that now. So I'm going to close this as well. Then I'm going to open my cart page. For our cart page now, the first step is to extract the necessary states and functions that we need from shop context. So for the cart, we need the cart state, which is going to store all the cart data. We need the add to cart function, we need the remove from cart, clear carts, increase amount, decrease amount, quantity, and total. So I'm just going to copy all of these, and then we're going to have const, open our curly braces, paste this all. Let me format. Okay, that isn't working. I don't know why, but let's do it the manual way. Okay, so everything will be equals to use context. We're extracting it from shop context. Okay, and you can see that shop context has been imported as well. Alright, so after this now we can now create our cart. So for the cart we have the first div tag, and then let me reduce this a bit. Okay, we're going to have the left and the right on the cart. So we're going to have the left section, we'll have a div tag inside our left section, and then we'll have the right section for the cart summary. We'll have a div tag too. We'll start with the left section. In the left section, we're going to have the header, and then we're going to have the sub header. So the header, inside this header, we'll have a div tag. Inside the div tag, we'll have two h1 tags and an icon, trash icon. So I'm just going to type in trash because I've installed React icon. React is going to suggest list of icons that will match this keyword. It might take some time while you're doing this for React to suggest, so you can just chill a bit. So this is the second icon that I want to use. Now the h1 tag, the first one will take shopping item, shopping cart, and the second one will take the quantity. Which we have extracted from here. Okay. And the trash icon that we have here is to delete the entire cart. So we're going to use the clear cart function, right? So I'm going to use click method to call the clear cart function. So this is the header right here. Now the sub header. For the sub header, we'll have a div tag. Inside the div tag, we're going to have 4 span tags. The first one is going to take product, second will take quantity, third will take price, and last one will take total. So let's type that in. Product, quantity, price, and then total. After this subheader, we're now going to have our cart items. That is the items that we've added in the carts from the product list component. Okay, so for the cart items, we are going to map over our cart state, which is this cart state right here, which is what is storing all the cart items. We're going to map over it to display the item that the user has added to cart. But before that, we need to first check if we have anything in the cart. We'll display the cart item. If we have nothing in the cart, we're going to display a text showing that our cart is empty. So let's do that first. We'll do cart.length. If it's greater than 0, that means if there's something, then you should do this. If there's nothing, you should do this. Okay. So if the cart length is greater than 0, that means if we have an item in the cart that is more than 0, you should do this. If there's nothing, you should do this. So if there's nothing, you should display a text showing that we have no item in the cart. So we'll have a p tag that will display your cart is empty. But if we have something in the cart, then it should do this. We're going to use this other bracket here. Okay, so if we have something in the cart, we'll map over the cart to display the items. So we'll do cart.map pass item, and then the structure item, so that our code is going to be easier. So we're going to destructure the item. So we'll destructure the name, ID, image, price, we'll have amounts. Okay, everything will be equal to what item. So we just the structured item now, so that our code will make more sense when somebody comes and then check out the code. Okay, so we've destructured the cart, and now we need to display the items. So after this, we're going to have a return statement. Open our bracket, then we'll start displaying the cart items. So we'll have a div tag. For this div tag, this is for each cart item, right? And then to uniquely identify each of the cart item, we use the ID. So inside the cart item, we're now going to be having every other thing. So first, we'll have a div tag, and this div tag will be for the image, the title, and then the icon. That is for. Let me have the comments here. Cart details. That is it there. Then we're going to have our quantity control here. That will take another div tag. After quantity control, we're now going to have our price and total. So price, then we'll have total. So let's start with the cart details. That is the details of the item that we want to display in our cart. So inside this, we'll have an image. So we'll use the image tag. And for this image tag, the source will be this image that we destructured here. The image of the item that we're adding to cart. Then we're going to have another div tag after the image, which is basically going to take the name of the item that we've added to cart and also a button. And the button is basically going to take the trash icon. So I'm just going to type in trash. React is going to suggest list of icon that matches this. So I'm using this icon right here. So we're using this trash icon, and then there'll be text to remove this specific item that is in the cart. Okay. Now, for this icon to work, we need to use a function, and the function is remove from cart function. Okay, so I would use an on-click method to call remove from cart, and then we'll pass ID. We're removing from cart based on ID. That's why we're passing ID. Okay. Now we're done with cart details. Next is the quantity control. For our quantity control, we're going to have two buttons and a span tag. So buttons, two different buttons. In between the two buttons, we'll have a span tag to display the quantity of items that we have in the cart. And that is going to take amount. This amount right here that will be structured here as well. Now for the first button will be to remove, that means to decrease quantity of item that we have in cart. Okay, so we're going to be using this remove icon. I'm just going to type it in directly. So you might give it like 2 to 3 seconds and it's going to show, so you can select it and click on it. We're using this remove icon for this first button. The second button will be for increments. So we're going to be using the add icon. Just give it about 2 to 3 seconds, and then React is going to pop out the icon that matches it. So once you see that icon, you're just going to select it so that it's going to import directly. Okay. Then we'll close this. So this is the first button. This is the second button. This is the amount. That means the quantity that is in between. Now for each of these buttons to work, we need to use the function that we've created. Right. So here I'll use an on click. The first button is to decrease amounts. Decrease amounts, we'll pass ID. The second button is to increase amounts. So we'll pass increase amounts. And then we'll have the ID. Okay. So we're done with this. Now for the price, we're going to use a P tag. We'll have a dollar sign. Then we'll pass price. Then for the total, we'll use a P tag as well. Pass dollar sign. The total is going to be price multiplied by amount. Okay, that means the price of the item multiplied by the quantity of the item is going to give us total. So this is the left section that we've just worked on. Now to the right section, which is the cart summary. So first we need a title, so it will be in an H2 tag, cart summary. After this title, we're going to have 3 div tags. Inside the first div tag, we'll have two span tags. So the span tag here, the first one will take items, and the second span tag would take quantity. The second div tag will have two span tags as well. The first span tag will take subtotal, okay, and then the second span tag will take total. Then for the third one, let me add spacing in between each of them. Okay. For the third one, we're going to have shipping fee. We'll have span tags as well. First one will take shipping fee, and this is going to be free in this case. And then we'll have one more div tag. So, and it will take two span tags as well. First, we'll take total cost. And the second would take total. Okay. After this, we're now going to have our button, which is going to be checkout. So this is what we have in the cart page. So if we visit the cart page now, you're going to see just this. Now we need to style to ensure that it looks like this. It looks this okay. Alright, so let's start styling. So we'll start with this div tag. Max width maybe 7XL. Everything should be at the center. We'll add padding on x-axis. We'll add a margin top of 26. Display flex direction, colon. And then on large screen, flex direction, row. We'll add a gap of it. Now let's style the left section. We'll style the width will take to third. So on large screen, the width will take to third of the entire screen size. The background color will be white. We're going to have padding of 6. Border radius. And then we'll have a shadow. Just shadow. Now for the header, display will be flex. Justify contents, space between, items, center. We'll have a border button, and then padding button will be 4. Then for this H1 tag, text size 2XL, font will be semi-bold. Then for this H1, text will be large. For the icon, that is going to clear the entire cart. The color should be red, 500. The size should be 2XL. Then we'll set cursor as pointer. For the subheader, display should be grid. Grid equals 4 should do it. Yes, we have 4 items. And then the text color should be gray, 700. The font size should be semi-bold. Then we should have a margin top as well of 6, padding bottom of 2, and then border at the bottom as well. Next thing to style is this our cart items. Display will be grid as well. Grid equals 4. All items at the center. Padding of 4. Then we'll have border bottom. Then the text color will be gray, 700 as well. Next is this cards that we have here. Display would be flex, items, center. Then we'll add space. Now to the image, the width will be 16, height 16 as well, rounded MD. So just a medium border radius, and then object width cover. Then for this H3 tag that we have here, the font should be semi-bold. Then for the button, text color should be red. The text size will be small. Items should be at the center. And then we'll set the gap to 1. And then margin top will be 2. Okay, so that is for this button to remove from cart. We're done with that styling. So next is this quantity control that we have here. So for this container, we're going to set the display to flex, items center. We're going to add a space on X to be 3. Now for each of the button, we're going to use the same styling. So the width will be 8. We'll set the height to 8. Background color should be gray 200. Border radius, so rounded 4. Display should be flex, item center, and then justify center. Text size should be XL. Okay, so we're using the same styling. So I'm just going to copy this right here, Ctrl C, and then I'm going to paste it for the second button, the increment button. I'm going to paste the same styling right here. So we have a span tag in between these two buttons. So we'll style this. The text size should be large. Now to the price. Text size large. Fonts medium. So the total text size large as well. Font semi-bold. Then this P tag here for empty cards. Text color would be gray 500. Margin top will be 4. Now to the right section here. On a large screen, the width will be 1/3 of the screen size. The background color would be gray 100. Padding of 6. Rounded LG, and then shadow. And we have this H2 tag here. The text size should be large. Fonts semi-bold. We'll have a border at the bottom, and then we'll have padding bottom to be 4. Then we have the first div tag. The display here will be flex, justify between, margin top of 4. Then the span tag that we have here, the text color would be gray 700. And then the second span tag, the fonts will be medium. Okay, so we're going to be using the same styling here as well, but this will be the margin top here. We're going to set it to 2. This as well, the margin top will be 2. We have another span tag here. The margin top would be 2 here. Then the styling that we have here for this span tag, we'll use the same for this and for this and for this as well. And the styling that we have here We'll use the same for this and for this and for this. Okay. Now for the button, the width will set it to full. Background color would be green, 500. Text color will be white. Padding of 4, margin top of 4, padding of 3, margin top of 4. And we'll have border radius rounded. The text size should be large. And then when you hover on it, when you hover on the button, you want to have the background color to be green, 700. Okay, so that is all for the carts. Now let's check. We're going to add items to the carts now. I'm going to be adding this first item, second item, third item, fourth item. So we should see 4 items in our cart, and that is what we have, right? We have this header shopping cart, we have the number of items, we have this icon to delete the entire cart, we have the subheaders, and then we have the cart items itself, which is the image of the item, the name of the item, the icon to remove, quantity control, price, and total. If I increase this now, you can see that the total has increased as well, because the price multiplied by quantity would give us total. Okay, if I do the same thing here, I can do the same thing here. I can decrease, I can delete the entire cart, and I'll get this message, your cart is empty. Let me add more to the cart now, and then remove this. That item has been removed from cart. So this means that our cart is working perfectly well. Now the next thing that we're going to work on now is to ensure that when the user clicks on any image, it leads them to another page showing the details of that product. That is what the product details page is about, and that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to close this cart, then the home page, we'll leave this. Then we're going to open our product details page. So for our product details page, the first thing we need to do is to extract the add to cart function from our shop context, because we're going to need it here. So const add to cart be equals to use context shop context. Okay, so once that is done now, the next thing that we need to do is to get the product ID from the URL parameter using use params. So this is basically what we need to do. You know, when we click on a product, right, it leads us to the product details page. We need to get the ID of that product from the URL parameter. From this URL that we have here, we need to get the ID of the product that we want to view its page. Okay, so that is basically what this next line of code is about. So const ID will be equals to use params from React router DOM. After getting the product ID, we now need to find that product that matches the ID in the URL in our data file. We need to find the product, the ID that we have here that we're getting from our URL. We need to find that same ID in this data file that we have here, in this product ID, so that we can display the product details. This is an ID here for this object. This is the second ID here for this object. This is the third ID here for this object. So if we're getting the ID from our URL, we should be able to display the details of that ID. So we need to find the ID that we're getting here from our URL from our data file. To do that, we need to import our data file first. I need to import product data from data file. Then we'll do const product will be equal to, from our data file, product data, which is the array of objects storing all the data, dot find method. We want to find a product based on the ID. So we're going to have product.id, the products that we have here, each of these products dot the ID that matches with the ID that we're extracting from our URL. Okay, we're finding from this product data that we just imported from our data file, we want to find product that matches with that ID. So we're doing product.id that matches with the ID that we have extracted from our URL. And now, one thing we need to ensure is that the ID that we're extracting from our URL has to be an integer. Because in this case of ID, this is a string. So we want to ensure that the ID is an integer. So we'll pass integer. We're just going to wrap it up. Okay, so that is what we've done now. So once we're able to get the product ID from our product data that matches with the ID that we've extracted from our URL parameter and converted to integer, we're going to store it in this variable here. And that is what we're going to use to display our UI. Okay, so let's work on the UI. So we'll have a div tag. We'll have the right section and the left section. So let's have two div tags for the right and the left. The first one would be for left section, and the second one would be for right section. Now for the left section, we're going to have an image, and the source of the image would be from this product dot image. So we're going to have product dot image. That's what we have in the left section. And in the right section, we're going to have an h3 tag, which is going to be for the name. So product dot name. After the h3 tag, we'll have two p tags. First one would be for price. So we'll have a dollar sign outside the curly braces. Product dot price. Then the second p tag will be for description. Product dot description. After this p tag, we're now going to have our call to action button saying add to carts. And for this button now, we're going to call our add to cart function that was extracted from shop context. So we'll use an on-click method to call the add to cart function. We'll pass product, comma, ID. Okay, so this is for the left and right section in our product details. Now let's test this out. If I click on this image, it is not taking me anywhere because we're here to establish a link in our product card that is going to lead us to any product details. So we'll open up product lists. Okay, we want to ensure that once we click on the image, it leads us to the page, right? So right here, I'm going to use a link tag from React Router DOM. Whenever you're using a link tag, ensure that it imports. If it does not, you have to do it manually like this. Okay, so I'm going to cut this image that we have here, Ctrl X. I'll paste it in between the link tag since that is what we want to establish a link. And now we're going to set the path for our link. So this will have two. We'll open the curly braces. We'll use the backtick slash product slash product slash dollar sign and then ID. Okay, so this is slash product slash ID as we have it here for product details. Okay, so I've set the dynamic path for this slash product slash dollar sign and then we'll pass the ID. So now if we come back here and then we click on this image, it's going to lead us to this product details page. And you can see the URL right here, slash product slash one. This is the first product. This is the fourth product. If I click on this, it's going to lead us to the product details page and you're going to see the details of the product. So now let us style our product details page. So we'll start with this div tag. We'll set our margin top to be 20, max width 6XL. Everything should be at the center, so we'll set margin center. Padding 6, padding on y-axis 16. Display would be flex direction, colon, and then on medium screen, flex direction, row, we'll add a gap of 10. now to the left section. On the left section, the width should take half of the entire screen size. Display flex, justify contents, center. Then this image that we have here, we'll set the width to be 460 pixels. Border radius, and then a shadow. No, we don't need a shadow, so let's not add shadow. Now to the right section. On the medium screen, the width should take half as well. Then we'll set a space of 6. Then the H3 tag that we have here, we're going to set the text size to 3XL. The font will be semi-bold. Then the P tag that we have right here as well, text will be 2XL. Text color will be red, 500. Then the last P tag, the text size should be large. Text color would be gray, 600. Now to the button, background color will be red, 500. Text color should be white. Text large, padding of 3. Then the border radius should be large. And then we'll have a little shadow, so shadow MD. So let's see what we have now. Okay, you can see this is what we have now. So this is our product details page. This is what the product details is going to look like for every of the products. Now the next thing we need to work on now is the footer, which is the last thing that we're going to work on. So I'm going to open the footer component. So for our footer, we're going to have 2 div tags. The first one here would take an H2 tag for the brand name. After this H2 tag, we're going to have a div tag for our icons. So we'll use the Facebook icon. I'm just going to type in Facebook. React is going to suggest list of icons that would match the keyword Facebook. So I'll use the first icon. Then we'll use another icon, Instagram. Be using the first icon as well. After this icon, I'm going to be using the Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, X icon. So we'll use this icon. Then the second div tag will have a P tag for the copyright section. So this is what the footer looks like now. Very simple. So let us start. So it's going to look exactly like this. We'll start with this div tag. Class name. The background color would be black. All text color should be white. We'll add a padding bottom of 12. Then for the second div tag, display would be flex. Justify space between item center. We'll add a padding on both sides. Then we'll have border bottom, and then the border color would be gray, 600. Then flex wrap. Then we have an H2 tag. Text size will be 2XL. Fonts will be bold. For this, we'll set display to flex. Then we'll add space on the x-axis. Now for each of these icons that we have, I'm going to style all of them at once. So the size should be 2XL. Cursor will be pointer. Then lastly, for this copyright section, text should be at the center. Then we'll have a padding of 4. And the p tag here, the text color would be gray 400. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Okay, it's not exactly like this, so we still need to add something here. Display flex. Okay, there's a typo error here. Alright, so this is what this tutorial looks like at the end of the day. If you learned one or two from this tutorial, please do well to subscribe, drop a comment, like, share. See you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.